welcome to my Out of the Box series. This is Rose, and I'm going to be talking a great deal about many things that I have learned over the last 30 years. A lot of them are spiritual. They're all energetic. Some may be bizarre. Some will resonate with you. Some won't. It's fine. Just take what fits and get rid of the rest. That's always my policy. And I'm calling this series Out of the Box because, in a way, I am definitely unpacking myself. Both figuratively and literally, having just moved into my new residence. However, today's session is actually going to be called How the Horse Ancestors Came to Be. I was told this story by the horse ancestors quite a while ago and recently realized that perhaps not many people know the story. So I'd like to do that today. I'd like to take you on a journey that goes back before time was even created. Back to the time when the source was still actively expanding itself so it could know itself. And as the source expanded itself, planets were created, space was created, dimensions, realities, all things were created. And as each planet is created, it's decided where it will be located, what it will be used for, what purpose it will serve. Each planet has its own destiny, its own karma, and its own consciousness. So everything works with everything else so that plans can be created so that that planet can actually work out her own karma, and at times other things who live upon the planet or are somehow associated with the planet can weave their own karma within hers. This was the case with Earth. Earth is a birthing planet. She is a planet that is actively alive. She is in the perfect position. Her placement, she was placed here to be the exact right distance from the sun and the other planets so that she could have a good balance of earth and water and all of the elements needed to hold life. So when Earth decided that she was willing to hold life and to weave other people's karma within her own, we had to have a decision made about what species, what the plan was to hold on her surface. Because the Earth herself is constantly in a cycle of renewal, it was decided that the species upon this planet would come here and learn about birthing. So it was decided that the focus would be on creativity, so that all species could constantly be in a cycle of renewal, recreating themselves based on whatever karma they had created, so that they could incarnate and reincarnate in different forms, shapes, sizes, and understandings of reality, so they could create a path of evolution and growth and progression. So when all this was decided, and the Earth was starting to cool, the beings were brought in to help her form and calm her down and settle her, and it was decided how the waters would flow and grid systems were built. And once the Earth was ready then to hold life, the Source put out the call along with the Earth to ask for beings that would come to be guardians, not only of the Earth, but of other species on this Earth. Many beings came from all over the universe, from other realities, from other dimensions, all of them offering some kind of seed to place on the earth. Some offered the types of seeds that they had very little of on their own planet and hoped to build on the earth's surface something that they could need in their future. Others brought what they thought would be helpful to other species. The earth was forming, the earth was shaping. It was becoming understood that the earth was going to be rather like a biodome, like a zoo, where so many species could grow and create and morph and evolve. And it would be a very beautiful physical place to come here as an experience. And then the humans came. And the humans were created a few times in different ways, shapes, and forms. And not all of those forms worked very well. So when they created the form that we exist in now, it was decided that we needed some very close guardians that would help us evolve on a positive path, that would hold space for us, that would hold memories for us, that would hold knowledge for us. And so the Source again put out the call and asked for a volunteer that would be willing to come and literally form as a physical being that would work closely and in cooperation with humans to act as not only their guardians, but to help them gently grow, to sometimes carry their burdens, to help them understand the concept of what freedom really is. It was then that 3 points of light energy came to the Source, and they all volunteered to come to Earth, to hold this space, to take on this responsibility to help humankind. So then the process was decided to start think about what a horse should look like. And at that time on Earth, humans were smaller than they are now. They were very earth-based. They were very organic, much more organic than we are now. And horses were seated to look very much like what we know to be the Przewalski's horse. The horses that you commonly see in Mongolia, they were very small and short. They fit the kind of human being that was on the planet at that time. And so they always seemed to be close to where many human beings were. They liked open spaces, but they also liked to have a bit of bush. They gathered in herds so that they would teach people that way that there was actually strength in numbers. They taught people too, by gathering in herds, that it's easier to take care of each other this way. It's easier to keep warm. It's easier to even find food. There's a lot of things that the original horses taught the original humans, but they almost always stayed in relative close vicinity to the original humans. So as time went on and the horses evolved, all of the memories of every single experience went into the collective conscious. Now the collective conscious is those 3 original points of light energy. Those were the original horse ancestors. And to this day, those 3 points of light hold all memories of all horses that ever were on the planet. As time moves forward and the human being starts to change and grow and become slightly different even in shape and form based on their own personal evolution and the cycle that the planet is going through, horses got closer and closer to humans. They made it very apparent that they were open and willing to help with respect. And initially, when humans and horses came together, there was open communication between the herds and the humans. The humans needed assistance in doing things that were beyond their strength capability, or they needed to get from one place to another, one tribe to another, because there was emergency, a message had to be passed, whatever it may be. And they would ask the horses for their help. Can you carry me? Can you carry these things? Can you help us find this specific herb? Or can you help us find something that will help us heal these parts of us? And because the horses' noses were superior and they had an incredible knowledge of every single plant on the planet, they would lead the humans right directly to whatever it was they needed. They worked with the humans. They taught the humans about where to find what they needed. And yes, they would carry them from place to place if need be, but it was always done with respect. Once the job the horse had been asked to do was finished, the human would no longer ask the horse to stay. The horse would return to its own tribe. And this is how humans and horses originally started working together so very much. And the horses had no issues with this. That is what they were there for. That's what they planned to do, to help humanity grow and to help humanity evolve. As time continued to roll on, though, and again, the cycles of time are really driven to change the frequency of the energy on the planet so that we can incarnate into different energies to have different experiences. Basically, what you see on this planet of duality is a matriarchy or a patriarchy, male energy or female energy. As you pass through the female energy, you have passive, earth-oriented energy. As you pass through the patriarchy, you have masculine, active-oriented energy. And we need both. We need both. We need to experience both, because without experiencing both, we cannot evolve. However, it has been unfortunate where in the last few thousand years, being based in patriarchy, there was a shift. And there was a shift toward control. Now, the horses did know this shift was coming. And they had volunteered for this path. So they were not going to refuse this path. They came here to help the humans, and helping the humans is what they were committed and devoted to doing, even though it cost many, many of them their lives. But by the time the things were changing and humans started thinking that they needed to capture, control, and domesticate horses, there were also humans that had been through enough time cycles that they were literally being born in horse bodies. So each one of those experiences fed back into the collective consciousness. And the collective consciousness grew because of it. And when humans had evolved to the point where they could be reborn as horse bodies, horses are born with their memories intact. So the horses that had previously been humans were born as horses, remembering they had been human. And so the experiences that those horses had of being captured, controlled, and domesticated also fed back in to the horse ancestors and the collective consciousness of the horses. When humans started to be born in horse bodies, it sped up the evolution of the horse consciousness. And horses were able to evolve faster than humans at that point, simply because they had a clear understanding of how humans thought, how they experienced, and the insecurities and insufficiencies that came with being human. Since the horses themselves did not lose their memories of any of the incarnations, they also had compassion. So moving time forward again, the horses have done their job incredibly well. They have held space for the humans no matter what humans have done to them. And we're now back at a point of evolution again, where the communication between humans and horses is starting to flow freely. We have almost come full circle back to the point where the horses began with open communication with the humans. Part of this is because so many of us at some point in our path of incarnations have chosen to be born as a horse and have the horse experience so that we know what it is like, we understand how they communicate, we understand herd dynamic, and now we've been reborn again as humans. And even though we forget our past incarnations consciously, we still have that memory in our own consciousness or subconscious. So what's happened to an incredibly great extent is the human group consciousness is incredibly intermingled with the horse consciousness and with the horse ancestors, because humans have been born as horses, and horses that have evolved to a high enough level have been born as humans as well. And all of that information from all of those experiences is now literally being fed back into both levels of consciousness. So there is an interweaving occurring. It's an understanding across species. The way it works in consciousness is there is a kind of merging almost of understandings. It's kind of like taking two separate files and placing one file inside of another. They do remain independent, but they are still rather together. And so now we've evolved to a point, and horses have evolved to a point where we are consciously aware of each other's soul. We are consciously aware of each other's energy. We are consciously aware that we have needs and desires and beliefs. And as we, as human beings, move further into the future and become even more aware of how to work with the horses and their consciousness, it will continuously enhance human consciousness to be able to do that, because people that have been human are still being born as horses by choice. So the horse ancestors at this point, yes, there are still the 3 points of light there, but the horse ancestors have taken on the memories and the lives of so many horses that have passed. And they've come together now to form 12 levels of belief, or 12 levels of personality, however you want to think about it. It's almost like a council of 12. And horses that choose to go and be part of that council can do that. But the horse in human consciousness now is so integrated that it's almost difficult to see where they're separate or even where they're together, because it's like bringing two different types of fog together. You don't know where they start and you don't know where they end. So it's only going to get more clear as we go down the road a little bit more. The communication from horses is going to become clearer and clearer and clearer. Horses have evolved without the ego to the extent that humans have it. So they see truth as truth is. They do not see truth through personal perception. On this planet, all humans are filtered. And that means that their experience of truth is filtered. Horses do not have that. Horses see reality as it is. And so at this point now, what horses are teaching us is that we do not have to be afraid to see truth. Up until now, we've chosen to keep our filters on. Our filters are our beliefs. And our beliefs are what color every single experience we have on this planet. Horses do not have beliefs in the way that we do. And it's because their energy is the way that it is. It was designed specifically to help affect us. And what horses represent is personal freedom. And that's why every single person that comes around a horse, interacts with a horse, does horse-oriented therapies, rides, stands and looks at a herd in a field, they're all going to be affected in whatever way their filters experience human freedom and personal freedom. Whatever you believe freedom is, that button is going to get pushed when you're around a horse. What the horses really want us all to know right now is to not be afraid, to let go of the fear. The only way we're ever going to experience personal freedom is by letting go of the fear. It is the fear that keeps us held within the wall of our own boxes. It's the fear that consistently regenerates the filters of our belief. From a horse's perspective, the truth is so much more beautiful and so much more powerful than we can even fathom. And that is what they are holding space for us to discover right now, is that personal freedom is a truth. But it's a truth we must desire. And to desire it means we must become personally responsible for our individual lives within this reality to discover what truth actually is. So the horse ancestors are still there? Yes. They hold all the knowledge of all horses and much of the knowledge of the human consciousness as well. And anyone is free to ask them for guidance, to ask for an answer for a question, for help. But the original rules apply. Once the help has been given, once the question has been answered, you must release that energy so it can return to its herd. Thanks for listening. This is Rose, signing off from Out of the Box.